I don't know about unorthodox, but I try to be myself. If you eat 5 roti pratas in the morning, nobody's going to knock on your doors. I wish I'm a killjoy. I think it's quite the opposite. And so many people wrote to me at that time to say, Minister, I'm prepared to do my part. But as of now, I'm more afraid of your rules than I'm afraid of COVID. Because my life just cannot function. He has never once spoken to me about joining politics. If at all, he will tell you don't join politics. Maybe it's that. I need to see a shrink to really tease that out, how it has affected me.
It's time. You, me, and another episode of The Usual Place. My guest on the show isn't just known for checking up on Singaporeans' health daily. He also knows how to keep his social media game strong. Mr Ong Ye Kung has been our health minister since 2021, a role he has stepped into during the height of the pandemic. Now, post-COVID, he has been focused on transforming our healthcare system to focus on preventive care through the Healthier SG strategy. Welcome to The Usual Place, Minister.
Hello, everyone. The camera is pointing at me, right? Yeah.
So I have many questions on everything, but since I mentioned Healthier SG, let's start there. Has anyone said to you that MOH is very strict about monitoring what Singaporeans eat? You know, less sodium, less sugar, read the labels. It's like kind of a bit of a killjoy, right?
We encourage, we don't monitor. There's no technology to monitor what you eat.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah, if you eat 5 roti pratas in the morning, nobody's going to knock on your doors. I wish I'm a killjoy. I think it's quite the opposite. People's habits are so baked in their daily lives. If they would like to drink sugar, they drink. If they like to smoke, they smoke. Some of them vape. No matter what you tell them, it's not going to change their habits just because the health minister or health ministry say so. But we believe in planting seeds in people's minds. Give them the information, tell them perhaps you want to change at some point. Maybe at some point they will change. Yeah. I change my habits over time. Sometimes I do walk past certain tables and say, oh, health minister here, look, we all have this unhealthy food, and char kway teow and chendol and everything on the table. I always tell them, no, I'm not discouraging you from eating. I eat everything you have on your table. Yeah, except I do it in moderation. I don't eat chendol every day, right? Yeah, I don't eat durians every day. I don't eat char kway teow every day. So if I have an unhealthy meal for the day, the rest of the day, I'm a bit more healthy. So I'm not against people having some of these pleasures, culinary pleasures. As after all, Singapore food is quite good. But it all depends on your medical condition. In my case, I'm relatively healthy, so I can eat whatever I want, just in moderation.
So, Minister, speaking of pleasures, what is your guilty pleasure when it comes to food?
I have a sweet tooth, so I like desserts. But having said that, I drink my beverages all without sugar. Yeah, I don't take sugared drinks at all. In terms of white rice, because sugar is really about controlling your blood sugar. White rice also contributes to blood sugar level. So I also take relatively little white rice. I seldom eat chicken rice, for example. Yeah. At home, we take the what do you call that? The brown rice. Yeah, we take brown rice or a mix of it. So relatively healthy, quite sugar-free diet, except for my sweet tooth. Yeah.
So is it like when you see dessert must have lah? Or is it like a particular type of dessert?
Actually, all kinds. But I don't take candies. I don't take candy floss, things like that. It's just dessert, cakes, tiramisus, Okay. So I like those. But there's a method to that I believe everybody know what are your guilty pleasures, what you can do a bit less or a bit more to keep yourself more healthy. We all know. We all know. It's not about health ministry telling you or about me nagging you. It's about whether we want to do it. Yeah. And there are ways for us to bring it about and to really lead a healthier life.
Did you find that when you became health minister, you felt the pressure to walk the talk? Are you more healthier now than you were before this portfolio?
I think the bigger impact is my wife.
How so?
Well, she has been a lot more health conscious even before I become health minister. I believe partly has to do with age. Partly is that whole period of COVID when people can't go out and we are pretty much confined and you start thinking about wellness. I think that was the period people thought a lot about wellness. And so did my wife. Yeah. Also, the other reason is I start getting injuries as I get older. When you're young, you're a sportsman. You thought you were invincible. When you're older, the pain start to set in. That's when you realize I need to take care of my body. Yeah, my joints, my muscles, my
You
tendons.
used to play a lot of football.
I play a lot of football.
Now cannot.
I cannot play at all. I can't run. I've stopped running. Yeah, used to run a marathon. Used to play football every weekend, and then the knees just goes. Yeah, so now I have half a metal knee, titanium knee. Yeah.
My knees.
Oh, it cracks when I.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, so this one is still okay. Yeah, still hanging on.
Yeah.
This one is half a metal knee, so I do need to take care. I can't run. Try to minimize the impact so that it lasts as long as I can. So I think it's partly all these reasons come together. It's not just being health minister alone that make me a lot more health conscious. And I think it's not just me. Around me, there are many people who are now so much more health conscious.
I wanted to ask you about COVID since you brought it up. You know, it was a very large part of your portfolio because you joined in 2021 and then you were like dealing with it all that way. Do you remember one policy at a time that was a game changer for how we dealt with COVID, something that you put in place?
Game changer. By the time I came into MOH, vaccines already arrived. So we were trying to encourage Singaporeans to take the vaccines. I think we're all very clear in our minds that by taking the vaccine, we achieve some resilience. That's when we can open up. I suppose the big change that MOH at that time brought about, not me, but the entire team, is Protocol 123. Do you remember that? Sounds like yonks ago. Huh?
I know.
Protocol 123.
COVID is fading from my memory, unfortunately.
Yeah. I would say it's Protocol 123. Because we had this whole thing about social restrictions, preventing the spread of the disease, and therefore we are contact tracing, quarantine. When we ran out of quarantine spaces, you quarantine at home, 14 days, 21 days. And then if let's say you pass to a fellow member of your household, then the clock starts again, or your fellow member gets COVID, then your clock starts again, So we hear horror stories of people on their 13th day, someone in their family got COVID or get exposed and they got implicated and their clock starts again 14 days. And we were using different methods, apps to trace proximity. And so it was a period of great anxiety. It was very humbling. Because first, I think that was Delta wave, and shortly after Omicron wave. And Omicron and Delta is contagious, Omicron is even more contagious. So as it spread and you can't contain it, and then your rules is so complicated, using apps to track people's movement or people's proximity to each other, and then issuing quarantine orders, quarantining people at home. There was just so much anxiety. And so many people wrote to me at that time to say, Minister, I'm prepared to do my part. But as of now, I'm more afraid of your rules than I'm afraid of COVID because my life just cannot function, And that was very humbling. And I think they were right. Yeah. I remember going to a wake. At that time, you can have small groups and wakes are allowed to proceed. I went to a wake in Sembawang. And this Chinese man, middle-aged, one of his parents passed away. And I went to the wake. He said that, your rules now cannot go on like that. You say Singapore must open up. This is not the way to live, I mean, this is something weighing on my mind. And when he said that, I agree with him. So I told him, I agree with you. So we went back. I told my staff, I think we need to press a reset button and change all the rules. Singaporeans are prepared to do their part and be socially responsible. But our rules is preventing them to be socially responsible. We're imposing on them all kinds of restrictions and quarantine rules. So let's redo everything, get rid of all the rules on quarantine and contact tracing, restart it all over. So I propose just 4 rules. Protocol 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't quite remember what they are. But anyway, not important. Just simple 4 rules. Yeah. If you're sick, stay at home. No, go see a doctor. If you're positive, stay at home. If you're not positive, monitor yourself. But you can go out, Something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. My staff looked at it and said, Minister, not good enough. we cut it down to 3. Protocol 1, 2, 3. So I say even better, So we announced. Of course, I discussed it with my co-chairs, who supported it, and then we roll it out. Yeah, that was I think a pivotal moment. The moment. Why is it? It is pivotal because that was the moment we tell Singaporeans, we trust that Singaporeans will do the right thing. You don't need rules that tells you what to do. Singaporeans will do the right thing. And indeed, most Singaporeans are responsible about it. There is always a minority that will abuse, they will not obey the rules, of course. But enforcement will at some point catch up with them. If not, so be it. But there's a lesson here about making policies, which is always make policies that caters to the majority who are prepared to take the responsibility. Never come up with a policy that always try to catch the minority. Then I think you miss the point. Yeah. So that's one lesson I learned. One major policy change and one major lesson I learned.
Okay. Now, out of COVID, what's the most challenging issue that you're dealing with now? And is this something that Singaporeans are quite lax about, that you want them, health-wise, that you want them to, be a bit more focused?
Oh, there's a lot.
Oh. Top one. Top one.
Top one.
Top one when you see someone doing it, you're like...
this being a podcast, I wouldn't be too heavy. I would have said healthcare costs and the impact of technology and insurance, but it would be very boring. I would go on a slightly more light-hearted one. I think it's sodium. Another one is sodium. It is such a low-hanging fruit that will make us all healthy. Yeah, just take less salt, soya sauce, belacan, and because they all contain sodium, and if we overconsume, and most of us overconsume twice the amount that we need, it leads to high blood pressure, which then leads to heart attack and stroke. Yeah. So in Singapore, every day, 60 people either have heart attack or stroke. Every day. Every day. If we can just cut sodium, we can reduce that number significantly. And I think it's a very low-hanging fruit because our food don't need so much salt and soya sauce. So this is a very typical conversation. I don't know whether you think so. Do you need a lot of salt and soya sauce to make your food tasty?
No, but I need a lot of sambal.
Same thing.
Yeah.
What did you eat? Why must you have sambal to make your food tasty?
Spicy, I got kick, right?
I see. But name me a dish. Why is it that you need sambal? When you need so much sambal?
Okay, I eat fish soup a lot. And when I eat fish soup, I must have the chili, right? Then the chili got soya sauce, right?
Yeah. But you don't have to dip so much, right?
But it's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, noted. You're giving me the death stare. Okay, today when I eat fish soup, I won't
killjoy,
remember.
Killjoy. You see, if you like fish, let's say, okay, you talk about fish soup. It is a soup with that is already a stock, and you cook it with fish, so it's flavoursome. But yet we say it's not flavoursome enough. I need to add soy sauce so that I taste salt and I taste soya sauce, masking the taste of the fish, the taste of the coriander, of pepper, of whatever is already inside the ingredient. My point being, our palate has gotten worse. We are unable to taste ingredients because we smother it with salt and soya sauce and sometimes belacan. Yeah. Actually, a good exercise is if we just cut those saltiness down, within a month, we start to taste ingredients and you start to really appreciate the food of Southeast Asia. Yeah. Especially Malay and Indian food. There's already so much spice in it. And all these are wonderful spices. Today, can you even taste, say, a mirror bush and able to taste all the spices behind the mirror bush? Sometimes no, because we tambah too much salt into it.
Okay, point taken.
So that's, you asked me for the...
Okay.
For what I think we can change, that's one thing.
Less sodium. If you're watching it, less sodium, please. If not, he will
less sodium,
you.
Not just for health, not just for better health. Less sodium so that you can enjoy your food more.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. When I got married, I realized that my wife's home, that means my in-laws, they use very little salt and soya sauce. In fact, when they cook soup, there is no soya sauce and no salt in it. You just taste the flavors. Yeah. Then my mother-in-law is a very good cook. Yeah. Whereas at home, we Hokkien family, then again, my wife is also Hokkien family. Okay, so it's just my family.
Different Hokkien family.
Different Hokkien family. But we just eat a lot more salt in the kampongs and, so when I got married, then I realized that, hey, this food in my in-laws' place is a lot less salty. And over time, it's true, I begin to taste ingredients. I begin to say, oh, this is chicken, this is pork, this is vegetable.
Just not a salty.
Yeah, just
not a salty
everything you
thing,
taste
yeah.
is soya sauce and salt. Yeah, yeah. So it was a culinary awakening when I got married.
Okay. So, Minister, you're here at a time when a general election looms. So I wanted to ask you about the rise of anti-vaccine movements, globally. And it's not just about the COVID-19 vaccine. Vaccine skepticism has seeped into politics. And, even in Singapore, for example, there are parties or people with political aspirations who have made calls, for example, to suspend the COVID-19 vaccines because of related injuries. So as health minister and having been part of the leadership team that, steered Singapore through the pandemic, what do you make of all of this?
Potentially, it can be a very serious thing. You look at the rise of measles in the US, certain communities where the vaccination rate is low, measles has made a comeback. In Southeast Asia, even in Thailand, Vietnam, other parts of Southeast Asia, especially pockets where vaccines cannot reach, you are seeing a rise of measles. In Singapore, not too bad. By the time you have taken 2 doses at 7 years old, I think our coverage is about 98% or so. So measles have not made a comeback in Singapore. The moment anti-vax beliefs seep into society and people don't want to take measles vaccine, I think you will see a comeback on measles, which is a dangerous disease. So this is a serious matter. Every drug in this world, every vaccine in this world has side effects. Question is how serious and how frequent. And we have to balance that against the benefits. Because the chance of you getting a disease and suffering from it and getting a very serious illness versus taking a vaccine with a very small chance of a side effect that is probably not that severe, we need to balance that. That's modern science. Yeah. So in all health jurisdictions in the world, we have to balance that and recommend what should the population take. Yeah. Anti-vax, they have a totally different narrative. Sometimes it's not just about risk. It's also about just a belief that, we have natural immunity. We shouldn't be taking something that is man-made and artificial. So it is grounded in deeper beliefs, but from a scientific point of view, from a public healthcare point of view, from a personal well-being point of view, it's actually the wrong teaching. Yeah.
So do you think politicians pushing an anti-vax message is dangerous, given what you've said about, how it affects public healthcare and personal well-being?
I'll put it this way. If the anti-vax movement, which did come to Singapore, had taken root during COVID-19, our death rates will be very high. The only reason why Singapore has one of the lowest excess death during COVID, during the few years of COVID, is because the great majority of Singaporeans, especially seniors, took the vaccine. And then with that, we could open up Singapore. Yeah. So our excess death rate is about 980 or so, compared to the US, much more reluctant to take the vaccine, 3,000. UK and most parts of Europe is about 2,000. We are under 1,000. Yeah. So that is lives are at stake. Yeah. Once you have anti-vax movement taken root, people die.
Do you have a sense of how widespread the anti-vax movement is here?
In Singapore, I think so far it's quite contained. Singaporeans, as I mentioned just now, always develop policies for the majority that will take responsibility. So in the case of vaccination, put out the data, how it benefit you, what is the risk, be transparent about it, put in subsidy, signal to people that, this is what we encourage you to take, and people will naturally make the right decisions. I think Singaporeans are very wise and informed in that sense. There are a minority of anti-vax in Singapore. In those, so long as the numbers are not big, those who are prepared to take the vaccine will basically protect them. But
Okay.
if their numbers grow, then it's difficult to protect them. You don't have enough critical mass of people who take the vaccine to protect those who refuse to take the vaccine. Because you must have significant coverage, then your population has immunity. Then the disease cannot find enough people to spread to. Because let's say you took the vaccine, or let's say you got infected by a certain disease, and the disease is trying to jump to another person. But everywhere it turns, everyone is vaccinated. They got nowhere to go to. And then over time, it will die off. But let's say you have enough anti-vaxxers, the disease will find that, he hasn't taken, I can jump to him. And after him, he looks around, another fella, I can jump to that person. And that's when the disease can spread, right? So when the numbers grow to a certain critical level, we're bound to be infiltrated by different kinds of diseases, as measles have in many countries now.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your political career, because you've had some defining moments along the way.
Okay, from vaccines and measles to my political career.
I mean, we're
very
still on the
natural
G.
transition.
No, I wanted to ask you, because we are talking about the GE, because you've had some defining moments, along the way, like Aljunied GRC in 2011, which you lost as part of the team there. And then years back, there were whispers about you becoming, PM. So a media outlet once called you an unorthodox politician with battle scars.
Really? Which one? Not
my
Straits
media.
Times.
No, not Straits Times. So would you agree with that term, or how has your political style, the way you are as a politician, changed over the last 10 years, given everything that's happened?
I don't know about unorthodox, but I try to be myself. And I try to have a set of beliefs, and I try to have a certain view of how policy should be developed, like what I mentioned just now. Develop policies to cater to the great majority who are prepared to take responsibility. Don't develop policies to catch the minority of abusers. So I believe in some of these. I have certain guiding principles when I look at a ministry or a set of policies. So just be myself. Whether it's unorthodox, I don't know. That's for others to say.
Okay, but speaking of Aljunied GRC, it's been with the Workers' Party for 3 election cycles now, What's the PAP's outlook on Aljunied GRC?
Tough. I lost there 2011 in my first outing. I should talk about the experience a little bit. It wasn't about how hard you work on the ground, We were working very hard, knocking on doors, talking to people. But say 4 or 5 days into the campaign, and I told that to some colleagues, that 4 or 5 days into the campaign, the feeling is you are in quicksand. As much as you try to swim and float, you sink. And the harder you struggle, sometimes the faster you sink. There's almost nothing you can do about it. That's when I realized it's really not about your policies. I was a newbie anyway, but it's not about what government policies at that time was. What I meant is what you promised to implement. It's not about how hard you work on the ground, but it's about a larger atmosphere of people wanting more opposition, or wanting an opposition presence in parliament at that time. And I suppose Workers' Party's tagline at that time, a world-class parliament, resonated with many who felt that our democracy is more mature now. I think we need a responsible opposition in parliament. And I think Workers' Party was able to project themselves as that opposition. So we were sinking. I think there's not much we can do. In a poignant moment after the election, by the way, after the election, your supporters, they're all very kind. They always say, the Aljunied residents, if they had another chance, maybe they will vote you all in. I always tell them, no, I don't think so. Vote again, we still lose. Yeah, because that feeling of sinking, I don't think will go away. You'll be replaying the story over again. So in a poignant moment, I was walking along Maxwell Road. I don't know why. Maybe I was going to Maxwell Road for Chendol. Yeah.
The dessert.
A lady was sitting on the staircase. In front of MND, there was a set of staircase. She called out my name. I don't know her. So I go to her, sat on the staircase with her. She said, come and sit down. So I sat down next to her. And she said, I just want to tell you, I know you were from the kampong, so was I. I like you, but I never vote for you. Yeah, because Singapore needs opposition. Yeah. So I think that feeling since 2011 has not gone away. Yeah. I think this has been the underlying theme across successive elections, even in this one. So you ask me, how is Aljunied? Tough. I wish our team there the very best, but they're up against a very strong team that in some ways have entrenched themselves in Aljunied.
When you were 4 or 5 days into the campaigning and you felt you
in
kind
2011,
of in 2011 when you could feel it, what was it that people were saying to you, or what gave you that feeling that it was quicksand?
I don't think I can remember exact moments, but it was an atmosphere. It's like me asking you, how did you feel during COVID? Right? How do you feel? How do you feel now about COVID?
I can't remember a lot of it because it's so
you can't remember, but you remember the feeling.
Correct.
That's what I remember.
Okay.
I remember the feeling. Exactly what is it? I can't tell. Some people were angry at that time when they slammed the door at you, but it wasn't those moments. It's actually that what the lady told me. I like you, no? But I'm voting against you. That is that feeling.
Do you think that there's the desire for more opposition has gotten stronger, and what's the PAP's response to this?
I think ultimately every election is about producing an effective system of government. It's not about how many PAP seats, how many opposition seats. It's not a numbers game. Yeah, that number is an outcome. Yeah, and what we really hope for is whatever after election day, after polling day, we have an effective government. That's what we need. Yeah, of course, in people's minds now, I believe I speak for many mainstream Singaporeans, political watchers. For many Singaporeans, their thinking is a good outcome, PAP government, but with opposition as a check and balance. That's a good system of government. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. As to what is the equilibrium, I think we are still finding out as a people. Yeah. 2011, people obviously felt it wasn't the equilibrium. There were like 2 seats, I think, Hougang and Potong Pasir. After 2015, there seemed to be some equilibrium, but 2020, people decided we need more opposition. Now we have 12. Is that the equilibrium? I don't know. It is something that we need to find out over time. It is also a function of many things, that equilibrium. Equilibrium, just like any seesaw, any weighing scale, equilibrium depends on external environment, what weight do you put on each side, where do you put the fulcrum, right? So many factors come into play. External factors, how do we feel about the external environment? Is it a safe environment? Is it changing? Second, how well did the PAP perform? What is PAP's attitude? Do they listen to me? Are they arrogant or are they humble? Do they look like they are listening more, taking in my suggestions, acknowledging my problems? Opposition, what is our performance in government? Both sides, what is your character? Are you people of integrity? Do you want to serve? Or you just think about your own political position? Or are you here to serve the people? So I think all these are factors that people will take into account and then arrive at a certain equilibrium. What represents a mature democracy? I think it's a journey. To me, it's a journey that with each successive election, we will find out.
Some people say that if the PAP loses too many seats and if you tip the balance and elect too many opposition politicians, you cannot go back to what it once was before. What is your take on that?
I think Singaporeans will be careful about it. Singaporeans do know that if you suddenly tip the balance and so many seats go to opposition, that even if PAP is still the ruling party, the numbers are shrunk to an extent you cannot even form a cabinet. Your policies get stuck in parliament. Things cannot move forward. It's not good for Singapore. I think Singaporeans totally get it, especially in this kind of political and geopolitical environment. So I believe Singaporeans will take it a step at a time and think carefully when they vote.
Do you think the PAP should have fielded the same team back again in 2015?
Same team.
Yeah. Just like come back and like...
Well, I stayed around for quite some time in Aljunied. But the rest of my colleagues, they have been serving many terms, So when they lost in 2011, they all announced their retirement. So I don't think it is just about fielding the same team. You also need to take into account of individuals, how long they have served, what their families, how do their families feel, and then their individual decisions.
Okay, so you've been part of Sembawang GRC team for 10 years now. Will we ever see you back in Aljunied GRC to stand, Do you have unfinished business there?
We have the party, we have a standard line to answer this kind of question, which is the Prime Minister decide. But I think on a serious point, I've been in Sembawang for 10 years. I think we are really proud of how we have carried out our work together with the residents and all our partners in Sembawang. It is a very new town. People say it's Ulu. It's a kampong area. This is, by the way, Sembawang is also where Sri Narayana Mission is. Yeah, it's a big community of Malayalis in the past. So one of their institution is the Sri Narayana Mission. So post independence, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew made a speech about mud flats to metropolis. Never fear, right? That was made in Sembawang, in Sri Narayana Mission. Yeah, we put out a little plaque there to commemorate that this is where the speech was made. But Sembawang came such a long way. Really, the story of mud flats to metropolis. It was really a swamp, But today it's developed, but we didn't develop it in a way that make it look like Tampines or Clementi or Ang Mo Kio. It has a certain character. We try to preserve important features of history and heritage, like the hot spring, like our Kampong Mosque, the beach, the sand, the Canberra House, the Enzuk Gate, 5-Power Defence Force started there, and Enzuk Gate is being preserved. So we have all these little features that has so much history. The history of Singapore is intertwined with the history of Sembawang, and we have developed it in that spirit. Yeah, and the people there, I think, also enjoy that vibe. It's a bit different. Occasionally, I'll meet a resident who say, I moved from some other parts of Singapore, very developed part. And here, things are different, not so convenient. You don't have those big shopping centers. I say, yeah, here more ulu. Here is the kampong vibe. The sun, the sea, the breeze, the hot spring. So you really got to like the place here. But we will not change the character. I'll try my best not to change the character of the town. So back to your question, I think it is a place where I think we have grown to love. And we've grown to have, and the bonds between us as the MPs and advisors and the people has also grown. Yeah. So if you ask me, I would love to stay in Sembawang until I retire.
Okay. In recent weeks, the Straits Times has reported of at least 2 senior civil servants stepping down, possibly to stand in the general election. And it's actually known that the PAP has tapped on public service leaders when sourcing candidates. So,
like me last time.
I was just going to say, what convinces a civil servant to make that move?
Everyone have their own consideration, I guess. In my case, I was quite clear that civil servants and politicians, we are all public servants. Yeah. But there's a huge difference. Do you know what's the huge difference?
You belong to a party?
Yes.
Oh, no.
No, there's a huge difference. Okay, belonging to a political party, of course, that is a technical difference. The huge difference from the perspective of carrying out your duties as a public servant is that the politician has a mandate. Yeah. As a civil servant, we always say we try to be innovative. We review policies. We are prepared to make changes. We always say that. And we have all the mechanisms and forums to do that. But it is only when you are a politician that you go out to the people to say, this is who I am. These are my beliefs. Vote for me. And when the people vote for you, you feel that, okay, I have a mandate now to make a change. I can't make changes in MOE without the feeling that I had a mandate from the people. I wouldn't be able to play a big part in launching a green plan and try to revive Changi Airport during COVID without feeling that I had a mandate. Likewise, I wouldn't be able to do Healthier SG and bring about a transformation of healthcare for an aging population without the feeling that people voted for me to do this. That's a big difference.
Okay. When you're asked about your father, the question always is, or the conversation...
Why people keep asking about my father?
Yeah. I know. It's just a
I wish
natural...
he's alive, to know all this. That people still asking about you.
I guess so, because the conversation is always about him being from the opposition and then you're joining the PAP. But what I want to know is, what was it about your father's journey that inspired you to consider into going into politics? Or was it, because you were...
He has never once spoken to me about joining politics. If at all, he will tell you don't join politics. I joined. It was very hard. No.
But different times, no? When you joined?
Different times, of course.
Yeah.
But no, as a father, I'm saying as a father, he has never encouraged me. Yeah. So if there's any inspiration, I think it's more an immersion. It's not an inspiration. An immersion through conversations with him, by watching him, watching my mother, because they are both involved politically, that you get the sense that politics is not dirty. Not a dirty word. Politics is not something I need to avoid. Politics is something that can do good for people. Maybe it's that. I need to see a shrink to really tease that out, how it has affected me. I know.
Okay, when that happens, you're going to come back and tell me what the shrink said. Okay.
This question I think is a bit profound, and a few people have asked me before. I can't give a better answer than what I've just said, but this is what I can think of. But I believe there is many layers in our consciousness, and at some deep level, he has influenced me. Yeah. But I wouldn't be able to know unless you take the time to peel off your thinking layer by layer.
Maybe when you retire, you got time.
Maybe.
Okay.
If I meditate long enough, maybe I'll know.
So your dad was in politics, you're in politics, your cousin who is an MP for Jurong GRC. Yes. I try avoiding pronouncing his name because I'm going to get it wrong.
Yao Chen.
Why you 不好?
Not bad.
I try.
Our mothers are sisters.
Yeah. So family in politics, what if your daughter said they want to go into politics? Would you, like your father, say, don't join?
Yeah.
Oh, that was fast. But why not?
Why? Same as my father. Yeah. We know it's tough. So we are naturally protective. So our reaction is, don't do. Don't do, it's tough. Yeah. It can even be nasty. But in the end, they decide their own path. They will decide their own path. That's what growing up means.
Do they watch you and have they, said anything about, wanting to join you at MPSs and see how it's like, maybe take that on? Eventually?
No. They've been busy with their own lives.
You're on social media a lot, which I would think is where you get to see a lot of comments from people. Mm-hmm. You clearly nail it.
I try not to read it.
That's what everyone says, but really?
So you obviously read them and you read the nasty stuff about me.
No, I wanted to say that you have gotten a lot of good comments.
Oh, really? Okay. Then
I don't think I've ever seen a bad one about you. I don't think so.
No, I try not to read. I try to gauge people's opinion of me or what they think about my policies through face-to-face interaction. I find it so much more genuine and authentic and real. Yeah. Or even when they email me, whether they're happy with me or not, it's more real.
I was going to say it was because you clearly nailed the social media game from my perspective, watching what you do. But many younger people struggle with the medium of social media, sometimes to the point where it affects their mental health, which is something that MOH also deals with. Now, what is your outlook on the issue? Like, will it get worse as we get entrenched online, or are the tools something that we just need to work with?
We have to work with it. It is here to stay. You can't change it. You can't wish it away. It is part and parcel of life. People will grow up with it. And so therefore, it's like an earlier generation grew up with horse carriages, And suddenly there are these automobiles that drive by itself without horses, and they take over the roads. Yeah. And suddenly I'm the jaywalker. That's how jaywalker came about, right? Because the cars took over the roads, and whoever walks on it is called a jaywalker. And suddenly life become dangerous to go out. But yet it is here to stay, because it also brings about some benefits, a lot of benefits. And therefore you have to learn how to cope with it, make the best use of it, but yet safeguard the downsides. So this is where we are with social media. I don't think we can wish it away. So therefore, when we were in MOE, we were quite certain that we need to teach children about the internet and the use of social media and the use of devices. And so that started how every secondary school student will get their own personal learning device, so that at least it is now used in teaching, used for learning. And you have a chance and a platform to teach them how to make use of this device and this technology properly. That's where we are. So in my case, on one hand, we have guidelines to say limit the use of social media for young children up to age 12. Our guidelines apply up to age 12. On the other hand, I do make content, and I try to make content that are useful. Yeah. Especially on health matters. Yeah. So, and it's a fact that because this medium is here to stay, and every generation of politicians, you have to master the medium of your times. In our time, it will be social media. In the earlier times when Richard Nixon was contesting JFK, it was TV, and the images matter, and you need to master that medium, which is TV. Today, we have to master social media, and it's very difficult. I'm struggling, because everyone is struggling,
In what way?
Well, because it's endless. You start off, you try to get your first 1,000 followers, or you make a video and you hope that you get 1,000 people who view it. When you hit that, okay, very happy. Then you'll be thinking about how do I get the 10,000 to cross the 10,000 mark. And after 10,000, you'll be thinking, how do I cross 100,000? And when you cross, it's like a big thing. Then you realize, actually, there are many videos that hit 1 million mark, Then when you hit 1 million mark, it's quite unlikely you can go further in Singapore. Then you'll be thinking about how do I do that more frequently, right?
You live for the likes. Do you?
No, you shouldn't. Yeah.
But you are looking at the views. Is that
I do want to look at the views, because when I make videos about health tips, and then if it can go out to a big number of people, then it works. Then I know that what can I learn from this experience? How can I make similar videos to propagate health messages? Tell people to take less sodium, for example.
Okay. I know you say you don't read the nasty comments, but to me, you're quite like a steely person, you're mental game strong. But do they affect you? Or even when people send you emails telling you, oh, you didn't do this right, or does the nasty comments affect you?
If you get too many of it, it can, but you can also regulate it. Yeah. So my own coping mechanism, so in healthcare, is a good thing. We have a zero tolerance towards abuse from everybody in the front desk, nurses, doctors, all the way up to CEOs and the minister. Yeah. We apply it equally. An abuse is an abuse. We disengage. Yeah. Unless the person is in great need of care, then we will care as first priority. But the moment you abuse, we will say, no, thank you. We have the right to say, we will disengage until you calm down or you change your view, because we have a professional function to carry out here, right? So likewise, it applies to everybody. It applies to me personally. Yeah, this is what I will champion for every nurse, every doctor, every pharmacist in our system. You abuse one of them, I disengage you. Yeah, but likewise, I will apply it on myself. Yeah, you abuse, I disengage. Having said that, criticisms I have no problem. Yeah, I always take it in the right spirit. You say this policy is no good, why don't you look at that? This subsidy is no good, that subsidy is wasted. No, I appreciate all those. And all those emails and suggestions often point me towards certain very useful policy reviews. Yeah. And how I also cope with it is, of course, we have our fair share of bouquets. So I have a special folder where I keep all the bouquets. When I'm feeling not so great, open up the bouquet and smell the roses once again. Yeah.
Okay, I think I will steal your tip, okay?
Yeah. You
Okay.
get them too.
Yeah,
After
yeah.
every episode.
Not after every episode, but here and there, I think. Yeah, and people will write to me and say, they will tell me, like, I just did a recent episode, someone wrote to me and said, oh yeah, you did well, but you also should have done this. So, okay.
But these are okay.
Yeah.
This helps us improve.
Oh.
Yeah. But you don't get abused, do you?
Oh, I just got a racial slur on TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, it was shocking to me because I've never really had it. Someone questioned my nationality because of the way I speak. So I'm like, oh, okay. Then just ignore. No.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
One or two, I think we just learn to ignore. But in politics, you can get quite a lot sometimes, no doubt from people who organize themselves too. Then we have to have some coping mechanism.
Because you're making content, different types, and you're doing trends on TikTok. Is there something that you will never do, and why?
Okay, to be honest, I don't know the trends very well. Yeah, so we have a team. Every good social media game requires a team. People that bring different things to the table. So what I bring to the table are all my nags. So I want to start nagging people to do this, which is healthy. And then it's for my team. I may have some idea how I want to put it across. And it's for my team to then weave in some trends. Yeah, especially the initial first couple of seconds to hook people. Yeah. So I didn't know this coconut. They cut the coconut, the water splash on my face. It worked so well. I had no idea. That is them. That's not me.
Yeah. When they come to you with these like proposals, right? Then you're like, must be in the water. I've seen you in the pool randomly.
I got an email from a coach, aqua fitness coach, and she say, why don't you do a video about aqua fitness? It is very good. And I say, I agree, because I have bad knees and aqua fitness is for me. So I say, I will go. Let's do it at Bukit Canberra in Sembawang. Yeah. So we go lah. So I had the idea that we do a fun video of me doing aqua fitness with the rest of her class. But then my team decided that to catch people's attention, there should be a first second where a coconut is cut and the coconut juice splash on my face. So I say, okay.
You're quite game.
So it's okay. It's not demeaning or anything, but it catches people's attention and it worked. It worked.
I mean, I think even with the vaping one, right? You had to drink some like questionable liquid. I was also like,
it was just tea lah.
I mean, I think it shocked some people who were like, wait, what? But okay.
Okay, those were never my ideas. Those were their ideas because they know they know the trends. Yeah. But you got to be game enough. Yeah. Okay. So that is part and parcel of trying to master the medium of the day. I think if everything you do and people say, yeah, this is okay, this is safe, this is good, then you're probably not doing it right. If you do it right, some people should be coming to you to say, you shouldn't do this. No, I think this is overstepping a bit. It trivializes the issue or is too funny. Minister shouldn't be funny. When people start telling you that, you're probably getting it about right. Yeah.
Okay.
And if people come to you to say you're totally frivolous, then you got it wrong either.
So you kind of like enjoy it, clearly.
I think so. I think you can tell from the videos that this is done by people who are having a bit of fun. Yeah, I think it shows. It shows. Because we can really, I can say I want to do this thing and send this health message. Then the team will come up with some ideas. Where are the lines? Where to film? What is the hook? What's the trend to use? What's the sound to use? And then on the day of filming itself, on the fly, we can change everything. Or we can change it substantively. I'll say, I refuse to say this. I think let's do it something else. Let's do something else. Let's say something else. And then they can also suggest, why don't we do it differently? So it's just a lot of to and fro. And I think it shows that this is a team having fun.
Okay, Minister, before I let you go, was there anything you wanted to say that I didn't ask you about?
No, I think you asked quite a lot of things. I think...
Yes, it was a lot of questions, yes. Because you haven't been on the show before, so I have many things to ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I interesting world. things are changing all around us. Geopolitics, huge change. We didn't touch on that at all. But social media, anti-vaxxers, these are just some of the things that we have to deal with. But lots of changes are happening. Singaporeans have different aspirations for the country, for our politics. Media is changing. You're moving to podcasts, no longer just on newspaper, right? So every organization, every person, we have to cope with all these changes. So just remember, whatever it is, we have to be in it together. We have to be in it together. When it comes to an election, sometimes it looks as if we are moving further apart. It shouldn't be. When dust settles, we still got to be together.
Okay, Minister, thank you very much for coming on the show. Please come back when the election starts and then we can chat again about how's it going. And if you're getting...
meaning during the 9 days, you want me to come back?
Yeah, please do.
Talk about what?
Talk about what's happening on the ground. How are you feeling 4 days in?
Okay, I'll consider.
Okay, thank you very much for coming on again.
All right.
And that's it from me. So if you're watching this episode on YouTube, like, subscribe, or hit the notification bell to get fresh content. Now you can also catch the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on the ST app. I'll see you next time at the usual place.